Thank you for joining us for another AAFCA Roundtable. Today, we are honored to be joined by Chef Alyssa Reynolds from the new Hulu series, Searching for Soul Food. We have with us today, on my right, Carolyn Hines out of Toronto, Jill Monroe out of Los Angeles, Karan Lemois out of Charlottesville, Virginia, Nancy, formerly of Baltimore, but is now in Los Angeles, Brandon, who also used to be in New York, but is in Los Angeles, and myself, Katia Woods, your facilitator, who is in Philadelphia.
I'm Chef Alyssa Reynolds, and I'm hitting the road searching for soul food.
I wanna see you bring the heat.
I'm tracing soul food's roots from Mississippi to South Africa, y'all. Mamma mia! You can't even describe it. You're like, humana. I'm on a mission. We're all connected through food. This is history on a plate, and I'm bringing you along for the journey. Italy, Peru, Jamaica. I'm going around the globe, and we're searching for soul food. Let's get it.
Let's rope it to the heat, the heat.
Let's get started. And thank you, Chef, so much for joining us.
Well, can I start off by just saying thank you, guys? It's an honor to be here, and it's an honor to do everything. It's just, I'm excited, and I really, really want to just say thank you.
Absolutely. Hi, Chef Brandon Collins, Media and Popcorn Podcast.
Hi.
Congratulations on the show. It's fantastic. So you traveled to a lot of places in the first season: South Africa, Appalachia, Italy. Which locale did you feel like you learned the most and had the most impactful conversations?
I'm a conversationalist, I like to think. I think that each place had a huge impact on just how I saw soul food and the world. So it was hard to say one distinguished place. Each one had a story to tell, and I really, really submerged myself. I mean, 7 out of 8 of them, I cried. So like they all were pretty much impactful. I kept crying every time I landed somewhere. It was incredible.
And the show's incredible. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, Jill Monroe.
Hi.
Alicia. So I don't know if you remember me. I used to work at Nike when you used to do the Blue House.
Yes, that's why I see you. What's up?
Hi. So as probably one of the only people that has actually gotten to sample your food early on, I'm so excited for you to see your growth and your progress and to see you have this show. This is something that is well deserved. So I want to ask you, as you traveled to these different areas and learned about these different regional culinary specialties, what have you decided to maybe take a part of or take a little bit of and sprinkle into your own recipes in your own restaurant at My Two Cents? What type of new creations were inspired by this?
To be honest, there's a lot of things on the list. I've been, obviously, as you can probably imagine, super busy since all of this has gone down. Also running a restaurant, having a small business, having a small Black business is very challenging. We don't have a liquor license, so we are all food. It has been a challenge. I do say jerk. I did play around with some jerk since we gotten back, but for the most part, my life is full right now, to be honest. I take care of my elderly parents. Like, it's a lot that I do on a daily basis, but I am inspired every day by my travels and the delicious dishes that I did try. Chakalaka is one of them that's on the first of my list, and that's a South African side dish. It's kind of like maybe equivalent to a salsa or a relish. What I loved about that dish is that it had love in this, it was one of those dishes that had everyone in it: Dutch, Indigenous Africans, the Asians that were brought there. And it's this dish that is now a part of a staple in all of South Africa. So that one of the things, I don't know who asked me, but the thoroughfare through all of this cuisine that was originated, I'd like to say, in America is love and compassion. And it travels through us every day. People want to cancel soul food and do all these things, but you can't cancel love. You can't cancel the DNA that's in us through our ancestors. So that's part of the search for soul food, is to try to bind these threads and see that we are closer in circumstance and just who we are than we think we are.
Amazing. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, I'm Nancy Green with Film Critique.
Hi, Nancy.
Hi. And one of the things that I found interesting was in the first episode, your conversation about what the definition of soul food is. And so I wanted to know if you could go a little bit more into that and what people can take away from the show, especially those who are maybe learning. I noticed that you know, being of a certain generations, we know what it is. But I noticed that a lot of younger people in their teens, early 20s, they don't seem to like always necessarily know what this stuff is. And so can you talk about that a bit more?
Yes. Well, I think they don't, to address the youth, they don't do history like they're supposed to. You know what I mean? People, a lot of youth don't even look back 20, 30, 20 years. They don't look back. When it comes to our food, they see now, they say, oh, this is bad. This is diabetic, this and that. They do not have enough stories about the love and the compassion and what it took. And those were our safe spaces, is to cook for each other in the time of trouble, in the time of need. These are things that are in our DNA of who we are, and they have not realized that a lot of times. A lot of these stories of food aren't just a piece of fried chicken. Our youth don't know the compassion and what those meals meant to us. They also don't know that everybody had a garden, and this is the first farm to table, and all of these things, to where the food kind of turned into something, and now it needs to turn back. It needs to be, and I've coined the term, evolved nostalgia. Okay.
Mhm.
They need to feel these things, and a lot of times they just don't, because it's a soundbite of, it's giving you this, it's giving you that, you're gonna get sick from it. And it's not even all of our food. There's a lot of foods to eat that are not good for you. And I think that we need to educate and hopefully bring out the compassion. And what does soul food mean in terms of, why is it that's why I started my search, is because what does that even mean? I was confused as a chef, like, why was it, name that and this, that, and the third. And once I started to dive in, you see why it's called soul, because you can't contain the soul. You can't contain the feelings that are invoked when you eat love.
Mhm.
You see what I mean? Because there's food all over the planet, similar foods. There's a chicken over here. There's a turkey over here. There's when I was in Paris for the first time, a Parisian was like, what is this? What is the soul food? What? And that was the first time that I was like, oh my God, what is it? Because he tried to contain it into a dish. And it's not that. It is our perseverance. It is our survival. It is our story. And that comes through when we're really, cooking.
Mm. Nice. Thank you so
Mhm.
much.
Hello, Chef. This is Karan from Karanism.com and Love Music Pleasure.
Hi,
I re-
Karan.
Hi. I enjoyed this series so much because I learned so much. It's such a celebration of food and culture. And you talk about being classically trained. So I'd like to know what your message is for young cooks and aspiring chefs on creativity in this age of YouTube learning.
In this age of YouTube learning. I think that, someone asked me, am I creative? That's without saying. Culinary artistry is creating. And for young people young people of color, I'll start with them, and just young people in general, I'm all about evolve your grandmama's recipe. Stay creative in things that are rooted in you, and then discover other cultures that you can pull in from a feeling, start cooking not only as an ingredient, but as language of love. You know what I mean? People love food, they love ingredients, but knowing the history in them, knowing the compassion it took to build these incredible dishes that had no recipes for hundreds of years, and we still cooking them. These are the kind of things that the youth need to know about soul food and what it means. You know, we create so much greatness, but at the same time, we create feelings. That's how great we are. You see what I mean? And so I feel that that's a message to the youth, is that not only stay creative, but do research, because food travels with no emotion. It doesn't have emotion. It just ends up here and there. And there's these beautiful hands that somehow put these things together that are faceless and voiceless right now, you know, and we have to be the bullhorns for that.
Well, this was such a beautiful feature of what I consider contemporary art, to see the different flavors and stories that are woven through our food. So thank you so much for this offering.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Hi, Alicia. Carolyn first. So here's what happened in Carolyn Talks.
Hi, Carolyn.
Hi. So I'm Bajan. I'm Barbadian. I'm from the Caribbean. So I was overjoyed to see the inclusion of a Caribbean island. May not have been Barbados, but at least it was Jamaica, and everybody loves their jerk chicken.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Before you finish, it was a fight. I tried to go to Barbados first.
What?
Yes, it was an inner fight with my people. I was like, and Jamaica won, but we're coming to Barbados, hopefully in a season 2 or 3. We're definitely coming, but I just had to say that.
Oh, the Jamaicans always getting an edge, but but I was so happy to see a Caribbean island. But one of the things that has always kind of irked me about how not only West Indian and Caribbean food, but soul food in general, especially those, is because soul food, to me, I've always associated with the emancipation of Black people, and more not necessarily the emancipation of slavery, but the emancipation of the mentally freeing ourselves from oppression. Like, even while Black people were still enslaved, like they still held on to their traditions, you know.
Yes,
we held on to our roots and everything. And all of the countries you visited, especially Peru and Jamaica, you know, and it talked about all of these similarities about how Black people were oppressed, and they still found a way to hold on to the roots and build new varieties of food and working with each other and like learning how to work with the land. And as a classically trained chef, I wanted to ask you, how has your perception of the idea of classically trained chefs and classical food changed since doing this series? Because what we know as classical food and classically trained chefs has a lot to do with the European idea of exceptionalism, you know, and what talking about slavery and the oppression of Black and indigenous people in North America and across Latin and South America, like, you realize, to me, there shouldn't be a class system for food, but there still is. So how has your perception of class and classifying food changed since doing this series?
Wow, that is a terrific question, because as this classically trained chef, I've always thought of that. You know, that was part of, and I have to be completely honest, when I became a chef, that was part of me trying to get away from soul food. Like, this is, how do I become a real chef? Like, I'm not real if you know what I mean? And before the journey, but it's not that I'm mad at my classical training. It's technique that you mostly learn, how to run a restaurant, how to do that. Certain techniques. Now you can pull from what you need and then bring them into your culture. But I've learned so much through being classically trained that I apply it to the culture. But you know, it's all who got there first and who had enough money to say that this is it. You see what I'm saying? Because if it was a different technique that might have been of color, we would all be following that technique. And that's it. I think it was the structure that was put in place and everybody followed suit. Unfortunately, we you know, colored food, if you will, people of colored food kind of didn't fit in their box because it was created, but now it's getting more reputation. It's getting, you know, celebrated. I don't think they still understand it. So hopefully that this would kind of, you know, the show kind of starts to open up these boxes, because there's techniques in each culture that aren't classical that matter. You know what I mean? And it's not that they don't matter, but they should be celebrated and lifted up, if that makes any sense. Because there's things that mama could do that no classically trained chef can find out and know how to do. You see what I'm saying? So it's kind of like on both sides, you know. I'm very grateful for my classical training. I think that it helps me, you know, run a restaurant, know how to all of these things. But at the same time, for a long time, I thought that that was the only way to go. And hopefully that this brings people together, because we are connected through the actual ingredients that have traveled around the planet for hundreds and thousands of years. So, you know, I was a little bit shady at first against the James Beards and the whole thing, because I know, but when you have a talent, when you want to inspire, you have to choose your battles. And then if you're inspiring enough, there's other battles that may work out within the inspiring that's right in front of you. And that's what I kind of look at it. I don't fight battles that I don't know how to fight or that are bigger than me. I'm going to fight the battles that are right here in front of me and inspire these people that are right here in front of me, and be as transparent and be able to tell my story, thanks to Hulu and Onyx Collective, you know, in a way that is me and unabashed and very entertaining. But, you know, you walk away learning something. I learned so much. And being Black, we walking around here thinking that we invented hush puppies. We just didn't. And not knowing that the Indians sacrifice and don't have their corn. And we over here hush puppy in it and hot water cornbread, and they don't even have this anymore because it was taken from them. So for that, it was learning so much about even my own people that I didn't know, you know, and through food.
Great.
Did anybody say I could talk? I know how to talk. I like to.
No, it was a great answer. Thank you.
Hi, Chef Katya Witz here with Couple Social and the Philadelphia Tribune. I love this show. It's right up my alley. My family's from Brazil. So if you are going to go to South America, please, please, please come back to Brazil. And as someone who did not grow up with the cuisine of this country, I moved to this country in 1981. I love how we are showing more stews, because I was always like, when I married my husband, I was like, we stew. We eat rice, we eat bread, but not that Stroman bread. We need that other bread that's more like a French roll. Talk about, because I feel like for instance, and one thing we have in common as Latinos is you're always going to get a pot of rice and a pot of beans, right? We may have a different way to doing it, but you'll always get that. And I don't feel like we tend to do a lot of separating, a little bit what Carolyn talks about, where it's like Black American is, I don't want to say more Black and this, but how do you feel your series, and more importantly, food can show the community? Because I feel like we spend so much time squabbling over foolishness instead of saying all of this is similar because it comes from the continent.
That's the thing. So, I mean, obviously this is our first episode, but eventually that's what I'm drawing the string through. Is like everywhere we go, we are. So if everybody came from Africa, then it's, you know what I'm saying, from the continent, then there you have it. And that's part of the search. I always look for the Black people because we are everywhere, and tell that story, even if it's going to be erased or even if it's been erased in their own culture. It's very important to not be quibbling over a rice and a bean, like plantain and things that are clearly, you know, of the culture and that have traveled around. And, you know, you find, say, in Corn Island off of Nicaragua, you know what I'm saying? It's like a baby Jamaica over there. These things that are, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought, but what I was trying to say is that all of it is connected, and we need to have a show that shows that, period. It needs to be fun. It needs to not be boring, and it needs to educate people in a way that they don't feel like, oh my God, I'm in 12th grade and I'm the teacher. You know what I mean? It's a way to kind of get knowledge into people and to keep them hungry, no pun intended, for it.
Hi, Chef Brandon Collins again.
Hi.
You saw a lot of food made throughout this season. From a culinary standpoint, which recipe would you say was the most challenging that you saw created?
Which one was most challenging? I don't know if they were more challenging as a chef than they're personal. Like the tamarind, I've never played around with tamarind in South Africa. That was very intriguing. The fact that, you know, I was in South Africa, I saw where Nelson Mandela was for all those years. I was over here where the Cape Malay people, then I went to the township, everybody's separate, but chakalaka is everywhere. That's crazy. Like that's the power of food once we get beyond these, or the power of food when you're talking about pain, but it becomes all of this love and everybody wraps their arms around it. It just blew my mind everywhere I went. You know what I mean? In Peru, the Criolla cuisine, the African cuisine there was similar to ours in taste. That was pretty trippy. And trying to, you know, discovering that a lot of this history is trying to be erased was like, kind of like, wow, you know, and I won't say trying to be erased, but not celebrated so it doesn't go extinct. And that's what a lot of things that need to be done is to celebrate them. We don't bring them to the forefront. We kind of just ate this soul food and just went on about our lives, and nobody understands there's power in this. And I think today in these times, especially with the kids, are like, oh, why are they shooting us and killing us and this and that? They just don't have enough stories of strength. To me, we need more stories of strength on how we are, and the fact that our ancestors are in our DNA and this food is in our DNA, but the love is in our DNA. The compassion is in our DNA. All of these things are from the food that if you have nothing and all your love language that day is, I scraped all this together and it's so bomb, it's going to last to the end of time. And that's who we are as people across the diaspora.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Chef Jill.
Hey.
So I want to talk a little bit about the episode that focused on Los Angeles, because a lot of times people say LA doesn't have food culture, LA doesn't have good food, we just have a lot of aesthetic and ambiance. Yeah. So talk to me a bit about your choices for where you wanted to go and what you wanted to highlight in your hometown.
Yeah, LA is I could do probably 10 episodes on LA because it is so diverse and it does have all these things going on. But what I wanted to talk about there was the Woody's barbecue. I wanted to talk about how we supported each other, and they came from a time where it wasn't about necessarily I'm better than you, but I got a restaurant, you should have one too. Like this community thing of we all are a part of something that is a dying legacy, needs to not die to me. You know what I mean? So I wanted to highlight things that these are entrepreneurs that have been in business for 40 plus years that still hold down even through gentrification. They don't want them to put the smoke up no more. And all of these things, I wanted to highlight some of these great qualities of being a Black entrepreneur and how we should support each other. So that was one of the things that I definitely wanted to get off in there. And like I said, it's so much in LA. Smoke, you know, Korean barbecue is everywhere. And because I grew up near Koreatown, I just thought that was fascinating that they barbecue damn near more than us. They got barbecue pits in their living room. Okay. Like it's not a game. And I thought that, you know, when you look at Koreatown, you look at the Korean culture, they're mad at family. They're all family. It's family based. Like you go to the spa and it's the grandmother scrubbing the daughter, scrubbing the granddaughter. Like they don't play when it comes to their culture. And I was trying to inspire us to be more of that. It's not being racist or this, it's just loving on each other. There's nothing wrong with loving us. And then sometimes we get into this space to where it feels like it's just intimidation, because when we start to love on each other, people get scared. It's so weird. They're loving on each other. What's going to happen? But again, I just wanted to be able to inspire that in the LA episode and show that there is family, there's history, and there's love there. You know what I mean? In terms of the tacos, and those people were basically almost slaves. Like they got their own little taco shop. They were in the fields making $3 a day. You know what I mean? And they literally, during that interview, the filming, they were like, girl, we got to go to church because all we do is thank God every day. The daddy and the mama and the son, yes, they were like, we got to get to church because this whole thing is held up on prayers. So I really admired their resilience. And, you know, we look the way the world looks at things right now. I just wanted this to look a different way at something that we always, you know, thought we knew and we don't.
Amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Chef Carolyn again. So before we talked about the
Flying fish.
Listen, nothing don't touch flying fish, okay? That's for our national dish.
I'm coming for the flying fish. You don't understand my battle to go to Barbados before. Yeah. So we're going next season. If we get a next season, you will see me.
You definitely gotta go for the flying fish at Cuckoo. I was speaking about that actually, it kind of ties in my question. So like before I asked you about the whole idea of classifying food and the whole idea of classical training. But the other thing that I love about food, especially what really comes through in your show, like you talk, it's about searching for soul food, and it's talking about finding the soul and heart and love and community through food. But one of the other things that I've always found with regards to how people of color in particular relate to food is, especially those of us who are descendants of enslaved Black people, food is our way of holding on to our roots, but it's also a sign of rebellion. You know, it's a symbol of our fortitude and how determined we are as a people intrinsically. Like we were like, we will use the scraps that you gave and we'll make food that they would end up wanting to copy, you know,
exactly.
Like food that they end up wanting to gentrify.
Absolutely.
That our people had to do it. That's the same thing in the Caribbean. It was the same in the Caribbean. Like like a lot of our dishes came from making food with the things that are the slave masters threw away, or that they banned Black people from holding. So I want you to talk about the idea of using food to reclaim our past and to reclaim our identity as Black people and to reclaim our identity as Indigenous people, because especially for the Native American people and Black African Americans, as well as in the Caribbean, because we have a lot of Indigenous Indians in the Caribbean. Like my mom's side of the family is Indigenous Guyanese, you know, so like that's our way of connecting to our ancestry is through food. So talk about using food as a sign of rebellion against oppression.
Well, 100%. I think that over time, our expression of rebellion became this symbol of a shame and guilt because we wanted, you know, we started getting more into the fact that they were scrapped and less into the fact that we created something from nothing, you know, magicians, literally. And I think that that's so important in the fact that we talked about the James Beard is like, it says something about, you know, somebody asked me, am I a creator? I think we're all creators. You know what I'm saying? Because we had to create life from nothing. We had to create meals from nothing. And I think that those symbols of rebellion, like you say, are one of the most creative things that it is intimidating. So if I was a colonizer, I would hold it down too. You can't let them have anything that they know that is good. But again, that's why it's called soul food, because you can't contain this rebellion in everything. You know what I mean? In the food itself. And these meals stood the test of time. That rebellion, that jerk, that, you're in battle. You got a pig underneath smoking while you're killing and surviving. These are things that could never be taken away, but now it's time and it's okay to tell the stories of these things. These stories, because that's what brings people together, and that's what lets people get off this stereotype, because they just don't know. You know what I mean? And I think it creates more compassion to people that don't look like us. Because they're like, damn, oh, we just thought it was rice and beans and fucking reggae. It's not, you know what I mean? But it goes beyond the plate, because that is who we are. And sometimes we are depicted in other ways, and it's hard for people to kind of like get that out of their head. And I think the future is tearing down those stereotypes and looking at our creativity as who we are versus the stereotypes. And I think food is my way of trying to start that conversation.
Great, thank you so much. And go to Guyana too. The Barbados and Guyana have
Yes.
interesting connections.
No, but somebody told me Guyana for just like a vacay, like it's they have some amazing resorts, and it's like killing it right now. So it's on my list, definitely. And Brazil. We wanted to go to Brazil this season, but it was rainy season when we were shooting. And so we didn't get a chance to go, because I want to go to the Amazon. I have friends that parents live, my friend's aunt lives inside the Amazon. So I want to, dig deep, wake up in a hammock with a whole bunch of mosquito repellent on me.
You are equally as wonderful as an artist as you are a businesswoman and now television production and personality. Is there one you love more? And what was it like working with the Honest Collective, knowing that your story was being centered and important?
Okay, being a Black businesswoman in the restaurant business has been the most challenging thing of my life. I opened it in 2013. This is my 10-year anniversary, literally in June when this show comes out. So first of all, the only thing that I can think of is perseverance. You know what I'm saying? And failing up. I'm not afraid to fail up. You know what I'm saying? People are so afraid of failing, but you don't know what you really want to do unless you mess up a couple of times. You see what I'm saying? And so within the restaurant, I am an artist. It is so many barriers up. We know we can talk about that all day, about the Black woman, and it's hard and they don't give you money. I lived that journey. Okay. I got sued in the first year through a business partner. We won't go into that because we can't talk about it for the lawsuit. But what you talk about a challenge, you talk about starting a restaurant with no money in 2013, being in a lawsuit to 2017, and then COVID happened, and I'm still here. That's where Searching for Soul Food came from, is because I thought I was losing everything. And in order not to be depressed, I thought of this show like, what is soul food anyway? Like, just frustrated. Where is it? What does it mean? Da-da-da. And I had hired this girl that was just precocious and had no restaurant experience. And this little girl became the angel because she goes, I asked her one day, where did you graduate from USC for what? And she said, oh, I write scripts. And I was like, I have a story. I got to stop thinking about this, because every day I'm working for free. I'm just trying to decide, do I pay an employer to put gas in my car? Like, it's crazy. And if you can give up at any time, but it's keep going is where you get the gold. And so she ended up saying, hey, I'm going to come to your apartment. Just throw out some ideas, because, and I'll write them down, because that's what I graduated at the half of my class. You know what I mean? And I remember running out the kitchen and I looked at her and I said, Searching for Soul Food, because I don't know where, what it is, what does it mean? And there has to be other stories similar, because the world was colonized. So what's going on? And literally that started my journey in writing. But again, that was 5-6 years ago. You see what I mean? So as I tried to keep the restaurant open and discover that I want to tell the world about this thing and soul food and us, it just became one of my life's passion. I'm like, I'm not giving up. And Melina Matsukis, Honest Collective, Ali Brown, all these people came around me and believed in me. And that says so much to, I may start crying right now, to just having an idea, but not even know that you're good at what you do, because we as Black people are always beat down and re-questioning and rebelling, because we want people to see not that anything but our love and our heart. Like, for real, we're one of the most compassionate species on this planet, period. And when you have to fight for these things, sometimes I just wanted to be able to let people see what it is in the way that it is palatable and you can eat it and you can think about it later and nobody's going to be mad at you. But just stop with the stereotypes and see that that soul food is love and it's compassion. And we should celebrate all of these amazing ancestors that roll in their grave right now that had no choice in the matter to do any of these things, and the power that has to be still here today. It's powerful. No recipes. Where's the original recipes of rice and peas? Nobody knows. You see what I mean? And so that's what this series is about. It's about just laying it down on the plate, and you choose what you're going to eat, what you don't like, and nobody's mad. But I'm going to tell you the truth. So that's really what it is.
I love it. Thank you so much. I'm starting to think Honest Collective can't do any wrong. So, but this is really brilliant. Thank you so much, Chef.
Thank you. Thank you.
Chef Kathy again.
Kathy.
Let's keep it 1,000 though, because even French cuisine, I'm sure as you're discovering, is elevated peasant food.
Right.
All those one-pot meals,
yes,
all those casseroles are really, because a lot of those recipes came from depression, the difference between rich and poor.
Exactly.
During World War II, the demand supply being short. Why is it then, again, we know some of it is ignorance and some of it is racism, but you know, like my one friend who's a chef says the difference between a plate being $5.99 and being $19.99 is how you present it. It could be the same 6 ingredients. So why is it that when we do think of what can we do to public, I'm asking, to educate people that soul food or the various interpretations of it is not lower class food. It is just food translated to be more relatable versus putting it on the fine china with the added things and the little, you know, the little dainties that make it $19.99 versus $5.99.
Well, I think you just said it. I think I need an episode on French technique and take it all the way back and show them that they were broke too. And somebody had the money to create a school and create a business and got there first. That's all. Because that's what it is. It's like everything, when you start to break it and break it down, you know, that might be season 3 or 4, but that is where I'm trying to go to. You see what I'm saying? That's where the rubber meets the road, because again, it was structure, it was money, and it was a business to say, okay, we're coining this and we're going to teach the world how to do this. I think that's how it became a technique. Now, to your other point is what makes a meal, in my eyes, different prices. In America, it's the quality of the ingredients at this point. You see what I mean? Because I'm good at what I do, and I can make the same food that I'm making now with less quality. And it tastes good, but will it make you feel the same? So I'm channeling my ancestors on the purity of the ingredients that I can get in my restaurant to feed my people so they can feel their excellence. That's the difference. We use avocado oil. We don't use any vegetable oils. We don't use canola oil. You know what I mean? We fry and rice bran. You know what I mean? Everything, it's 75% gluten free. I'm evolving in my country. If my restaurant was in another country, it may not necessarily have a gluten-free element, but I'm doing what I'm doing because of the knowledge of the food that I have where I am. You see what I mean? And I think that that's very big, that we should evolve where we are and tell those stories. But again, just like you said, French food, all of it started from peasant food. Most of it, the ones that taste really good, at least. Because it's those ingredients that you may not have ever put together if you had a lot of money. You wouldn't have put that together.
Not at all. Chef, I want to thank you so much for spending time with us today for this very insightful, important conversation. Everyone, make sure that you join and watch Searching for Soul on Hulu, brought to you by Onyx Collective on June 2nd. As always, on behalf of the largest group of African-American TV and film critics, we thank you for watching this episode of AAFCA Roundtable. Thank you so much.
Yes, guys. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.